Hello team, welcome back to the day 2 for our Selenium with Java training. And team, in today's session and going forward, we'll be doing a lot of coding team. And all of it will be through our Eclipse as a platform with Java, primarily the uh, programming language that will guide us through. And of course, our Selenium WebDriver. So going forward, we will not do too much of any documentation here. As needed in the project, we'll be doing it. So the application that we picked yesterday, if you remember, was mortgagecalculator.org, right? And we took a simple scenario that we believe that we wanted to go ahead and test. Let's go to that app itself and take a look at it. Quick review of what we did yesterday, and then we'll get started. Okay, so the test case team that we quickly wrote in a simple Excel sheet yesterday, more from a manual understanding, and do believe in these facts that unless you do manual, you cannot get into automation as a process and as a design. So manual is the key, is the first step towards automation team. And when I say this, I really mean it, because unless you are qualified on the functionality, how can you ask a machine to do? Because machine will not be able to go and do a self-understanding and self-realization as to how that applications are working. So it has to be done by us. So we need to first get the manual tests team. And what I'm showing you are simple ones where only one test case, few test cases would be there for us. But as you go along, team, and as you implement it, be it on your projects or wherever you're working on and all that, you will do in the same exact manner. You'll keep increasing the complexity or size of it, but the approach should be the same, team. So very critical is the approach to automation. So what approaches do we take? And that becomes something called as automation frameworks. What are these automation frameworks? How do they work? We will be getting into very detailed hands-on. But before we can talk about automation framework, we need something to say. How can I know that, okay, my automation test is a success? It is giving me the benefits, or whatever investment that I did, I'm getting the return on the investment is happening. So how do we assess that? What parameters do we see? From my point of view, team, there's 3 thumb rules that I emphasize when it comes to automation. When you go into interviews, when you need to speak about what an automation framework, start with from this statement that from my perspective, an automation framework is something that is efficient, something that is reusable, and it is also accurate. Now, these specific terms we will be going deeper into, team. So any of these frameworks that we're working on, please do understand that we will use these 3 rules as what is it efficient or not, is it reusable or not, or is it giving us the correct results. Now, where are we with that test case? So simple scenario, go into the application, enter home value, enter down payment, click on calculate, verify EMI, close browser. Now, did we do anything on the script level? So this is a different workspace, team. So I'm going to quickly switch my workspace to trainings SLT October 2019. Was it the one we created yesterday? I don't think so. Did I even start Eclipse team day 1? Sorry, there were a couple of days gap because of my issues. Yes, we did Eclipse, right? So where is that project then? Let me see. Trainings, it's here, project 1, SDET November. What is this one? No, this is not the right one. Switch workspace. I don't see it here, so I'll just go to other, browse, and try and get that team. All right. And please do realize, team, a lot of challenges keep coming to us. They get thrown at you. Things may not work. You're working on Eclipse, Java, Selenium, lot of moving components, and they are highly reliable, but at the same time, sometimes they will give you challenges. And you follow the right process. And while doing that, if there's anything that is you're getting stuck with, very, very critical on not to get disappointed, but how do we go about fixing it? Okay. But right now, what I did is I'm selecting my workspace. It did not come up here. So it is SDET November 2019. I'll say okay. Hopefully it'll have those files. So each project that I want to work on, or which are different from each trainings, I create different workspaces, team. So there's no confusion. Even when you're practicing, you can do the exact same thing, like project one, project two, and so on. All right, perfect. Now, team, just a note, want to let know if there are any non-members in today's session or watching this recording, please note from day 3, the videos will be there on our website and you'll have to log in to do that. And also your registration here, we'll have to cancel it if you're not a member that the team is working on tonight. So anyway, keep that in the mind. Let's see what's happening. Workspace was written with a newer version of the product and it can be incompatible with this version. I see. Mhm. Now I understand. See, Eclipse, I had a couple of them, Java Neon and the latest version. So I believe it was the latest version in which we were using ours. Isn't that correct, team? In the website, you will see a different month, like maybe 10 or 11. But for us, I think this was the version that we were looking at. So should not matter. Even if it was with that version, I could have said that is fine, ignore it, we will figure it out. Should not have mattered. But anyway, this is coming straight away for us with that workspace. I'll just say launch and let it open up. Now, while this is happening, team, I'm going to do a variation. Oopsie. A variation of this test case. Call this as MC02. Copy the same and put it here. And just change this to a different value. And I'm expecting my first test case to pass. I'm expecting my second test case to kind of fail because what I'm expecting and what I will see will be different. All of you are understanding these basic components. And I hope, team, that any certified tester training that you've done, you focused on that. So as we do a little bit more, I'm going to give you assignments so you can finish those and complete your certification too. We still have to get your ASCT exam. But focus in terms of how we are trying to increase the speed as well, team. So now I have two test cases. Very good. And where is my Eclipse? There we go. Let's close this. And I have my project. So expandable, team, always when you see these arrows, explore around, play around a lot in your free time. Don't be too scared, just to see what's there. You can spend as much time as you want in researching more, but make sure your fundamentals and foundations are set correct so you will not make any kind of mistakes going forward. So what did we do, team? There's something called my class 1 and then my Selenium code 1. These are the two things that we did yesterday. Now let us understand what are these steps, how is this Java code built, what these import statements are at a very basic level that will help us to move forward in our programming. Okay. So import is very simple, team. While you already have your libraries referenced, your jar library, whatever you need, you don't know which one in it you want to use. And just to further make sure that we are being efficient with our execution, and it will only get those packages built into the project, we have to say what we want to import. So I'm saying I want to use WebDriver and Chrome driver. So what are the differences between this WebDriver and Chrome driver? We have discussed, team. I don't think so in any or certified trainer, but let me explain to you. Very simple, team. The concept is very simple. When we have our web-based application and the Java code needs to talk to it on a constant basis, this Java code doesn't know how to handle browser functions. Okay, to look at something called as a document object model and identify where is what, and then go and perform actions on it. And that is done with the help of a WebDriver. Now, WebDriver is the basic standard interface, team, that we have to further say now WebDriver has my basic commands, but what is the specific browser type? Is it a Chrome, or is it a Firefox, which is a Gecko driver, or Safari, Opera, Edge, IE, headless, and so on? So for each of that, you have a different file or jar altogether, team. This is actually an executable that we have that is working on it. Your Chrome driver, all the related Java commands are inbuilt here. Okay, so that is what is important for us to know, that if I want to work with any web driver and a specific driver version, I use that. As we get into cross browser, we'll be able to switch quickly to Gecko and so on. One caution to everyone, just make sure and please be conscious of the fact one of the primary reasons test may fail could be with our Selenium server versions and so on. So make sure you're getting the right versions and Chrome driver versions, team, and with the right combination of the Chrome browser. Now, this specific code, let us understand a little bit more. We saw the import statements. Now, what else is there here? Public and class as terms, just assume what they are as of now. You will see a lot of that going forward. There's also something called private. And for our main method, Java always considers this to be the main function. And it will go into the main function and start executing from line 1 what it wants to do, one after the other. That is what it will look for. Now, why is it static and void? Let's talk about it later as we delve more into creating our own methods and so on. A string of arguments is nothing but if I want to execute it from a command line, then I can pass arguments to it, and we can see a little bit on that too. Now let's go into this curl brackets. What do these curl brackets mean, everyone? So the way Java as a programming language has been built up is we consider things to be block of code. Okay, it can be one line or it could be multiple, but we could segregate them. And this curl brackets that you see, this is the open curl bracket, and corresponding to this, there is a closing curl bracket. And the same here, there is one more open and there is one close corresponding to that. So this becomes very critical for Java when it looks at code, that okay, you opened one, you have to have a closing one. So this is critical from its syntax. When we say syntax, team, very important word, is writing it in the way that Java or any programming language understands. Only then it is kind of able to save it and run it. While execution, for any unknown reason that we did not predict or plan, we get an error, then it is called a runtime error. And that runtime error stops your test from running. Syntax error does not let you even run the test. So syntax error is always given to us with the simple things like, let us say I delete this, or if I want Java treat any code as, hey Java, do not remember this line, just ignore whatever I'm writing. We use 2 forward slashes and that's a comment, team. And immediately you'll see it becomes green in color. We're going to talk a little bit more about comment. But the fact that if I don't have that curl bracket, then it kind of says, listen, you have two starting opening, where's the second opening closing one? So it does not know what we have done, and that's where it gives us a syntax error which we need to fix. So once we got that fix, save it, and here we are with the inner code. Now On your IDE, if you do not see something called as this line numbers team on the left side, just right click on it, go to your preference. Oh, actually, no, show line numbers is right here for you. All right. And if you want to increase the font, go to preferences, colors and fonts, edit, and I'm using 16. I think 16 is fair enough maybe for us. And you can change that if you want. You can also change in terms of how this coloring happens, team. So one more thing you should notice is you see there's some maroon color, black, there's blue, and then we'll see some green and so on as we go along a little bit. So let's look at these lines, team. These lines are nothing but Java code, and wherever necessary, it is using Selenium WebDriver as a specific object. As we go a little deeper, team, I will explain to you on the object-oriented programming system. But for now, just imagine that this command here, WebDriver, MyDriver, is creating like a box of data, like a file cabinet almost, okay, that contains all the information about this object called MyDriver. It is a new initiation, and we need this basic code, team, to get started. Once we know this basic code, right, we'll keep on adding and learning more and more Java. Now, MyDriver is a name that I give. I can always change this to anything that I want, team. So instead of MyDriver, I'll say it is MyD. And then I'll have to do the same change wherever I go. And team, any changes that I'm doing, I'll do it on a new version. That way, when you go back to look at and refer this code, it'll really help your team. And believe me, sometimes all you need to do before an interview and so on is just look at code. Sometimes how things have run, what we used, what logic. So have a repository of good code always with you. All right, so now see, I'm changing this, the syntax errors. Do you see this red cross? And that is what will prevent us. So I'm changing it, it'll tell you what to do. And the other thing, like I told you yesterday, the class name has always got to be the same as the file name here. So make sure these match and you should be all good. Now, the system.set property is basically saying where my driver is, team, Chrome driver.exe, just a path to it. MyD.new Chrome driver is where we are actually creating a new Chrome session. Okay. And then this command is to maximize. And team, as of now, just use it. We don't even need it, but it's good if sometimes applications are responsive and they change the way they look depending on how we resize the windows. So for that protection, we maximizing it. The next one is actually, I don't even need, we can, more like split steps with spaces, and all these efforts that we kind of try and do, team, is to make code readable. Okay, so let's make sure we are also writing our notes on the side. Our code must be readable. So how do we make code readable, team? One of the most important things is giving simple things like spacings, comments as to what it does, naming things in a easy way to understand, and that is within your team. So you go with some naming conventions and you follow some standard operating procedures to make sure that your code is more and more readable. Now, why should code be readable, team? Can anyone tell me, please? If I'm a developer, why should my code be like friendly? Why, team? Why should code reading be friendly, or code be reading in a friendlier way? Who does coding? Developers, correct? And automation engineers too. So why should code be readable? Good code. I want everyone to answer, please. Take a pick. Think about it. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of responses. That just shows also your involvement, team. Appreciate that. Right? For Katie, like knowledge transfer as to what we want to do. Namings helps us to identify elements. Okay. Naming helps to identify. Maybe faster, right? And relate. Easy to understand for others as well. Okay. Now, if I write code like this, or if I write code like this, for Java, it does not matter. Okay. It does not matter for Java. It'll think is the same thing. But for humans, I have to keep on scrolling horizontally and so on. And that's the another thing that we'll explore, team, that how we should avoid writing horizontal looking code and writing more vertical code. Okay, so lot of reasons for this, and thank you for your answers. Absolutely right. I've not got a single wrong answer, team. What were the other ones? To understand so the new person can jumpstart. Exactly. For a quick jump start to others getting started. Yeah, getting on. Ting 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 members to understand. It'll be easy for the new developers to understand. Correct. And anything else you think, team? It is also easier to go and fix issues by yourself and others, team. So when you write all this, oh, okay, let me see, okay, this name, okay, let me see, let me search for it, and so on. So that becomes very critical. All right, let's keep that in the back of the mind and write some code. But while we do that, team, what is most important? First, write code that looks good. Because to look good, you don't have to write correct code. So make sure code is always looking good, team. Second, write code that works. Then third, see if you can improve it. And this is where a lot of programming, logic, algorithm kind of building exercises come team for us. Okay, enough of all this. Now, where are we? The first command that I'm actually passing to the browser is here, team, and it is very much English-like, and I want you to practice reading it and speaking about these things, team, because if you're working or listening to these lectures, you don't get to speak. So keep speaking as much as you can or writing it. So myd.manage.window.maximize. It's a bunch of commands that I'm giving, but all this is done specifically on MyDriver. Now, what is MyDriver? It is linking to a Chrome driver, which is basically a web driver interface, and it helps us to interact with the Chrome application. The next one is MyDriver.navigate to a specific URL. And then we should be reaching that application by this time. Let's see if we can run this and see. Did we face issues, team, in day one with Chrome driver, and then I re-downloaded a bunch of new things? Is that correct? Okay, now great. What I want to also do is at the end of my test, I want to close that browser that was open. Now let me rerun this test. Let me close the one which is already open and run this again. Does not interfere if you don't close the browser yourself, but just a good practice. And so same thing has happened, but at the end of it, I just got a close command team, and it says that, okay, I don't see what happened. It just opened and closed very quickly. See how fast? It's hardly even waiting enough for us to wait for it. Now let us start talking to this Java code team. Okay. Do you see this console here? Console is a very critical place. You will work, you will focus a lot all through your programming life, team. So debugging is core to every good programmer. So when you get a problem, be very happy, team. Be glad, because it will make you learn. And I mean this, and that's why I'm writing these a lot, team. As we go along, you will see how we need to debug. And one of the simplest ways to debug is write print statements that will let us print as to where we are, what is happening. So for example, here there is a command call. Remember yesterday I was just showing you simple one print statement, whatever we do, it'll print there. And here, this is one line. I'll just copy this and put it here. And now I'll change this message here and say when welcome to day 2. Okay. And now I run this code. Actually, both have to be saved. So hello SDET team and welcome to day 2. So I could repeat the sentences, hundreds of times and do whatever we want. All that it is doing is whatever we're putting here, it is coming out here. Bland, no logic, nothing. But the same print statements I can put here in a different way. Starting test. See, that is my first step or stage where I am. My second step here is I am launching Chrome browser. Isn't that correct? So I'll say launched rather. Launched Chrome browser by this time. Actually, that's fine. We'll put it right here at the beginning of it. Okay. So this one is launching my Chrome browser till here. Let's also put maximize as part of it. This next one is, what are we doing here, team? We are going to that specific URL. So there comes my third step saying that go to application under test. And ting, 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 that's my step for that. And finally, after I close, and here I write 4, done with the test. Now I don't know if it's going to be fourth step or nth step, but that's my last step. So save this and rerun this. Did I change any logic of what I'm doing with the main things on the application or the driver team? Did I do anything in that? No, I only added print statements. And why did I do that? It is easy for me to associate and see as to what is happening at what point in time. Okay. And if everything has happened correctly and so on. Say, okay. And you can always check this box, team. Always save resource before launching. That way we don't have to click too much. And each time we try and launch, keep something in the back of the mind as to how we're going to do it as well, team. What will happen? So before you hit the run, please ensure that you run it in your mind. You need to, team. And we're going to take 2 weeks to learn Java. It's not going to be that 3 days we'll finish Java and then Selenium WebDriver. We're not learning topics, team. We are learning why we're using something, how do we apply it, and take that. Okay. So I ran this, but it did not run anything, team. Let's run this again. So what am I doing? My main method, it should print this, open the browser, then print this. Sorry, then go to this application, close it, and then print. Perfect. Starting test, see, launching Chrome browser. Now I know where my messages are coming from. Where? See, 3, go to AUT. Done with the test. Perfect. Doesn't it look good, team, already as to what we want to do? And let's keep that sanity of that, team, and talk about these steps now. I have all of these steps to do. So how do I execute these steps in Java, in Eclipse? How am I going to do that? Ting, 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 ting. I'm going to put it here. Now, if you noticed, my Chrome browser is already opened here, team. So I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. I've also navigated to my application and it is, I'm going to delete this. Now I have the following steps. Okay, So I could write a print statement or even put a comment to it. I'm just putting a print statement here, team. And this is for, this is enter home value. And whatever is the value will come to it later. As of now, it's just that. And team, do note one more important thing is the semicolon. Every Java statement ends with a semicolon. Just be aware, team. It's again, as you use it, you'll forget it, that it'll become part of your daily thing. So, okay, let me copy this. That way I can quickly start putting it. Oopsie, what did I do? Okay, and I'm gonna finish this. See, if you open a double quote, you have to close the double quote, and so on. That was an escape character, team. We'll come to that backslash later. Now here are my different steps, and hopefully these are the ones. 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. That's close browser. Perfect. So for close browser, we have the code already written. For these, we have the code already written. Now I just have 4 things to get the code for team. Let's try and complete these 4 things today, because through this we'll also learn a little if statements. Now what do we do? Where is my mortgage calculator? Right here. So I need to be very conscious of few things, team. When it comes to automation, there's primarily one second. What was I saying? Where was I? Okay. Let me draw something and show. There are 2 things that is important, team. One is what we want to do, and the second is where we need to perform that. So think of like a machine. It's like a almost like a simple dog, right? So our element identification and all that becomes very important. So if I ask my dog to fetch something, and it'll over a period of time learn that habit better. But for a computer, the instructions have to be the same each and every time. And hence, we need to specify these 2 sets of information over and over, team. It's easier to maybe teach humans, but there are other cons to it. It is tougher to teach automation tools and systems, but there are a lot of advantages to it. And you need to pick those correctly. So the most important thing is, let's talk about where we need to perform a specific activity. So to find this element, right click on it and go to inspect. And to find elements, use inspect and write XPath. Okay. Else copy XPath from inspect. Else record through Selenium IDE and show. Okay. And team, as an exercise, I want you to add more fields to this test. I will not share the code, team, so you have to go back and rewrite this by looking at the video itself. So let's write our first element. Where do we want to go? Enter home value, correct? So be inspecting this. So as you inspect, team, most important is to look at any ID or name that can be unique enough. I see there's an ID here called home value. So all I need to do here is find that element first. Go to MyD dot bunch of commands that we can do, like navigate, close, find element is what we are doing right now. It'll try and find one unique element by using any of these methodologies: XPath, tag name, partial text, name, link text, ID, and so on. I observed an ID and I'm going to put that here. So team, I'm moving faster in element identification because you've already been exposed to the basics of it. Okay. Oops. And make sure uppercase, lowercase, Java is case sensitive. So Java, 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 or even like this are different for it. Okay. So please don't do anything. In general advice team, you must always be case sensitive. There are other programming languages which may spoil you by saying don't be case sensitive. You write however you want, uppercase, lowercase, as long as the word is correct. But you all must always be case sensitive. Your approach should be that. So now what I'm doing, Tim, I'm just finding the element. So far, this portion is to find that element. That is my where part of the automation. Next comes what is it that I want to do on it? Do I want to click on it? Sure, maybe we can click on it. Or do I want to really type something, team, onto it? And to type something, we use the command called send keys. How do you know? Primarily now you know it because you're getting exposed to it for the first time. But there are not too many operations, team, so you'll get used to it in the next couple of days. Now, what was the value that we had for this? 425, 310,000, and so on. Let's see. So this becomes 425,000, and I'm putting everything in double quotes, team. Very specific reason, I'll tell you why later. It's called a string, and we'll explore those. The next one, down payment. So for the down payment field, where am I? Inspect. I've not come to the radios yet or all these fields yet. There's a drop down too, but just on the basic ones, team. And the ID value here is down payment. So I double clicked on it, control C it, and bringing it here and pasting it. The value here was 310,000. Okay. And the next step is to click on calculate. But you know what? At this point, before it clicks on calculate, I want to see if it has done this. Now, if I execute it, if there's no issue on it, it should keep going through that process and blah. Okay, there we go. And till we finish debugging, let's not close the browser so that way we can see what's happening. All of you are with me, team. Any questions so far? So make sure when you're practicing, you do the same. And tomorrow when you show me, I would want you to add more fields to this, please. Okay. Now, great. I've got those numbers entered. That's beautiful. Now I want to click on this calculate. That's my next step. So inspect. It hasn't gone to a team. Sometimes inspect doesn't go right away. So click on it again, inspect, right click, inspect. And I see there's an input type is submit, name is there, cal. Maybe I should just use the name cal and see if it works. How am I knowing if it works or not, team? I am running it and I'm seeing if it works or not. My d.find element by, and all of this, team, try and type it by yourself rather than copy paste, at least towards the beginning, 1.5, 2 months of your time on Java. We're saying name is cal actually, so we're not doing by ID. So some simple mistakes could always launch us in an issue where we have to go through additional learning. Name is CAL. I didn't copy, I just saw those 3 characters, so copy pasted. Now what is it that we want to do on a team? See, the first here is to find and then do. What is the find? Find the home value, send keys is nothing but typing it into it. Now we're going to click on it, team. That is the intent for the button. And let's see if this part happens. I think it did because I also see the value plus I saw the page load briefly. So looks like it did, team. So that was interesting. Now, how do I verify this EMI? So what is it that I'm expecting? I'm expecting, let us assume the same value that I see on the application, this value. Okay. Now, so here is how it will work, team. If I'm expecting this value is coming somewhere, correct? On the application, I need to find first, where is that? Second, what do I need to do? Get the text from it. Sorry. So first inspect, and it didn't go yet to that element, right click, inspect. There you go, it's heading H3, team. And you know what? I'm not sure of this XPath, for example. I want to just play around, experiment. I don't have enough time. So I'll just copy the XPath and see what comes out for us. It's a very long one, team. It's got, of course, it says ID calc. That is the form under which it is going and looking at this field. It is not dangerous to use it, but it is not beautiful at all. But if it works, then that's good for us. By dot XPath, and here is that whole information. I have to have my XPath within double quotes. So what does that mean? I cannot use double quotes within double quotes. So I change this to single quotes. All right, team. Now just saying ID equals calc will take somewhere else, but under that it is going to that form section, the blah, 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 all this, and till H3. Okay, let's close that. And what is it that I want to do, team? I want to use another method called get text. Okay, there is, if you look at it, team, for example, this is an easier one, and there are not too many commands. There's a clear command if there's already text in it. Click. Equals is more like if this object and so on. Find element. Find elements will give us a list of different elements matching that. Get attributes as to what is stored inside it. C class, CSS value, all of this get few information, tag name, get text. And that is where we are trying to get text out of that field. And three booleans, which is that field disabled, sorry, displayed, is it enabled, is it selected? So these help us to identify team, and notify all are basically about the status of it. Send keys we saw, to string, submit, we'll kind of see how many we can cover on that. Now we didn't put something called as a wait yet, team. That is how we explicitly are waiting right now, but we'll have to throw in an implicit wait into this. We'll do this next. But let's kind of finish this. What happened to my print statement here? Why does it have a red line under it? I don't know if everything is right here. See, this is the problem with code where you have large things and you have to keep on scrolling to the right. Yes, I'm missing a semicolon at the end, and system.out.println. Isn't it correct, exactly correct, same thing, everything? Why is it then system? There's nothing wrong here. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, there you go. This is the reason. The line before that we added, right, team? And we were just experimenting, so it was left unfinished. So it said I can't run the next line because of that. Okay, great. So now what is it that I'm doing, team? I'm going to that element and getting the text. Now, when you get text, you need to put that somewhere, team. And what we will use within Java are variables. So my variable actual text, actual EMI, is gonna get stored hopefully in this value if it works correctly. And similarly, I'll say that there is another variable called expected EMI, and that is hard coded already to this value, because I'm expecting this. So if this application, this calculator works consistently, I'll run this test every day. Every day it should give me the same things. If everything is the same, because calculator logic is not changing, only the parameters that we are entering as inputs are changing, right? Now what is it that I want to do? I need to compare him, and this is where I will introduce you to if statement. I'll show you a little bit more tomorrow on these, and we will play around. We'll keep on using if going forward. So when I want to compare two values, like if they're same, I use an if statement team. And here, when it does this, let's print this actually here and say actual EMI is, what will we print, team? I want a print statement which has this text saying actual EMI is followed by that value plus V actual EMI. And this plus here, team, so far all the print statements that you saw, simple ones, everything only one double quote, right? Here, after we finish the double quote, I added a plus, and I'm taking whatever I get here to it. So what it does is something called as a concatenation, or it joins two strings together into one before it prints it. And that is what we want to see the value. Okay. Now, ting, ting, ting. Now, team, can I take this line 31 and put it here in line 30? What do you think is the reason for that error that you're seeing? Maybe. Can I? Why do you think there's a line error on line 30? We'll come to line 34 later. Don't worry on that. We're talking line 30 right now. See, if you take your mouse over it, it's going to guide you as well, team. And this is the beauty of using an IDE. So it says here, V actually MI cannot be resolved to a variable. Create local variable. What do you mean? I've already done something called as a declaration here and I created it. Why is it asking me that way? Because only after I've created it, rather declared it and initialized it, can I use a variable. Tomorrow's session, team, will focus a lot on variables, primarily on the basic string, integer, maybe double a little bit, boolean, and those should suffice for us at the beginning. Now, if this value actually mi dot equals, team, so this is a Java command where it will tell me if these two values are the same. Now, what happens with a simple if statement is, if these two values are the same, I will say test passed. Now, else, if these two values are different, I'll say test failed, and we'll have to go back and see what is the reason for it. Now, same thing like I explained about curl brackets, once you open, you have an end to it. And you can see that clearly being marked as to which one it is highlighting, team. So at any time you click on one, it will highlight the one corresponding to it. Now, do you know why is there an error on line 34? See, every time we come up with issues, great learning experience, team, and it sticks to you. When I'm explaining, it might sound very simple, easy. Sometimes it is more grueling for you when you're working on it. So focus a lot and try and understand. See, like I said, every block has a starting and ending. Same thing with parenthesis, like you open brackets, has to have a closing bracket. So there are two open brackets, there's only one closing. So we need one more, and there we are. All right, perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, we're good here. Oops, doesn't matter if this comes in the next line or not, just want it to be looking easy. So I have if and else. Now, how does this if else statement work, team? The simple logic with the if condition is very beautiful, team, and that's one of the most important building blocks for any computer programming. So whatever you see within this, it basically talks about it as something called as a Boolean. Boolean is a variable that we have, and the value for that is only two things, team. It can either be true or it can be false. Only one of these two things. So when these two are same, they're equal, then this becomes true. When these two aren't, then it will be false. So in the case that it is true, we go to that first curl brackets and execute everything till the last one. Okay. And here we can say, um, thank you, or I don't know, whatever we want. Let's just put some additional. I can put any number of statements that I want, team, within these brackets, but all of those will get executed only under the condition that this statement is true. Now, if this statement by any chance is false, then it will go to the else statement. So if true, do this, else do this. And here again, you can have a bunch of statements that we're doing. This is the most important building block for if statements, team. Tomorrow I'll come into writing separate if statements and how they work. Okay. And some pros and cons, but simple if statements, like for example, I say int a equals 10 and int b equals 20, and I say if, now these are numbers, I can also do if a is less than 20, then print. So syso system.out.println is a long thing to type, correct, team? So to print, the easier way to write that whole thing is write syso, do a control and space. It'll get you that whole thing. So control space after you write syso and say yes. And if this comes here, else say no. Just couple of outputs that I'm giving, team. What we have done is, so no, sorry, a is less than b, I wanted to do. What we've done, team, is just declare two new variables and comparing them. And it should only print one of these statements for me below. So it says yes, because a is less than b. If I say a is greater than b, it's going to print and say no to me. So it will only execute that corresponding statement. And you could do a lot of combinations and so on with them slowly. Now we've got a lot of code written, team. Basically, till calculate, clicking on that button, it worked correctly, right, everyone? So if I don't want this code to work, I can comment it. And I can comment it using something called as group comment instead of using 2 forward slashes, where for each line I have to use 2 forward slashes that I have to comment or in front of each code. Here I can comment the entire code. See, and it's become green, saying that I won't execute this only because I've used forward slash star star forward slash. So it is the beginning and end of it. So that won't get executed, team. So if I execute it as is, it'll open, do certain thing and close it for us right now. It's not yet testing for us. Team, I'm almost done with the session. I will need to take your questions tomorrow. Is there anything that I could quickly address or help, please? So it's got the value for me, but now let us see what happens through this execution, which is the new version for us. I don't know where it is. Let's see. Oh, wow. Test pass, team. There we go. I got a good test being passed, and it was a first time thing. So you always cannot be sure. Your XPath can fail. These values can be different sometimes. Let us say if I do 1 1 instead of 1 8 and run a 1 9, sorry, 1 8, then let's see what happens. And let's also close this browser now, team. That way, I'm not interested in seeing what happens on the application. I just want to sit here and see my results. Let it do whatever it wants in the application. And it says test failed. And what actually, oh, I've hard coded there. Okay, okay, this is the one. So, anyways, so with 1.8, it's perfectly passing. Now, this is my first test case. How do I do the second test case? I can repeat the exact same thing. Save this as code 2. Make it as code 2 different data. Only data is changing in that, correct, team? So little longer name, so different data. Oops, okay, there's a hyphen. Come on, what did I do wrong? Is it too long for it? My Selenium code 2 hyphen different data. Huh? Okay. I don't know what it did. Div data I'll give. And here, save this first. Is it okay if I just take a couple more minutes, team, today? Just want to get this to a good conclusion. I'll show the Excel. What's wrong? Let me take the mouse. Import. Okay, it's fine. Let me give the name of the test case itself. Here's the Excel sheet, team. And this is the test case 2 name that we have. All right, got the screenshot, team. Okay. .java. Okay, now I'm sorry, one second. I'm just trying to get the name of it and put it here. So, and the only thing that I'm changing here, team, let's change the inputs. We're doing 425, 250,000. What will we get? So on the application, if that's that, and this is 250,000 is the value, I'm expecting to see, oopsies, I'm supposed to click on calculate, 1098.76. So this is gonna be 1098.76. And this is my expected EMI here. And I'm sorry, here 250,000. That's the only thing that changed, and what's expected out of it will change accordingly. So let's run this. All done, test passed. And where was our first test case? It's right here. So I'm going to save this as save as. What was the name here? All right, there we are. So let's look at the continuation of this in tomorrow's session, team, about what next we can do, how we can make this more sensible. And all the time, we'll have to keep thinking and keep that in the back of the mind. We want to make them more efficient, reusable, and accurate. We'll talk about these three at length as we finish the first project through it. Any questions for me, please? I have a hand raised. I did unmute you, Subhashini. Did you have a question for me?
Yeah. How do I get the recording for this session? So I just
No
started my
problem. So
second
this
day.
session, I'll put it in the YouTube channel. I hope you're subscribed to it. You'll get it there once it is uploaded.
Okay, sure. For the iTeLearn YouTube channel.
I keep giving that link, youtube.com/QTPelearn. I'll put it in the chat as well. youtube.com. This is the one. So all the latest videos, team, you'll keep seeing it here. And you'll also get a pop-up, I believe, on your smartphones as we uploading. Today's session will be here, and then going forward, it will be on the website. The link for that, I believe Pawan is already sharing the Skype group. All right. Great. Anyone else questions, please? Or I'll see you back tomorrow then. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now. Take care. Thank you.